What's up, witches? I'm in the middle right now of trying to edit together a video with the couple things that I managed to capture on video at the midsummer/summer solstice gathering that my husband and I just went to. And so that should be hopefully coming up here in the next week or two, but I'm still a total noob when it comes to video editing, so we'll see how long it takes me to put together. My ambition or my reach often exceeds my grasp when it comes to many things. Especially creative projects or artistic things or just things that I decide to do, like filming and editing YouTube videos with no prior knowledge or experience, but that's life. Anyway, so look forward to that soon, and in the meantime, you know, since I am kind of still in the middle of feeling the woo burnout, the woo hangover, the spiritual hangover, whatever it is that you want to call it, just kind of recomposing myself, rebuilding my energy stores after spending so much time and energy in all the excitement and just goings on, not to mention like the rituals and everything else that we did purposefully over the weekend. So yeah, that is definitely a real phenomenon that exists, and it's hard to get back to the day-to-day real life work grind. There's a gnat in here. Oh, hi Loki. So today I just thought I would sit down and show off, or you'll do a little show and tell on another newer tarot or oracle deck, I guess you would call it, that I picked up recently within the last few months. And I've really just been taking my time. With this one because it definitely seemed not only just very of interest to me and my spiritual path, the things that I would like to study and pursue. It's just also very intense and in-depth in terms of the background to this deck. So this is the Celtic Shamans pack, and I just found this in the local bookstore and like the New Age section with other tarot and divination decks that they had there. I've always been a big lover of Celtic mythology and Druidry. That's why I kind of call myself a Druidic Norse pagan Druid, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. There's so many different terms that one could use for whatever the hell it is I'm doing over here, but definitely I have always felt a huge pull to Celtic mythologies, Celtic deities, and done a lot of reading and research on those types of things, both when I was in college and just on my own, out of my own self-interest. So as soon as I saw this, I mean, just based on the artwork alone, aside from the name, because the full name here is the Celtic Shamans pack, guided journeys to the Otherworld. And that is also something that definitely appeals to me on this whole paganism path that I'm exploring, and something that I feel like I might have a natural proclivity toward is astral travel, realm travel, and so I wanted to just pick up this deck to explore there's just a lot of keywords here that stood out to me. Celtic, shamanism, journeying to the other world, because in Celtic mythology, kind of similar to Norse mythology, there are different realms, certain places or times of the year, like Samhain, the so-called veil between the different worlds might be thin enough that different beings or spirits can cross over, because in Celtic myth you have more specifically like our world, the human realm, and then like the other world, which I believe is called Anwen. I don't know how it's pronounced because I've never actually like studied the Celtic languages, so bear with me on that. I will do my best, but I'm guessing on a lot of it. So feel free to correct me on pronunciations if you know how these things should be pronounced. But to get into the meat and potatoes of it, this very big box actually pulls out into a nice little case which contains the deck and a very in-depth guidebook. As you can see, it's quite big, and it's not like very thick, but for each card, when it says Guided Journeys to the Otherworld, I think it really does, if you follow along with the guidebook and the cards, it's structured in such a way very similar to my Well-Worn Path deck, where it's used as almost a guided meditation or a guided journey through these different realms, bringing you through these different core concepts in Celtic mythology and helping you to just explore those themes. So as someone that definitely has always been in love with, as I said, Celtic myths and Druidry, and wants to incorporate those into my paganism and pagan practice, it was definitely right up my alley. So I've really been taking my time with this. I'm not even all the way through, like I've looked through all of the cards, but I still haven't really read through the entire deck because I'm really trying to just take it one page at a time and really study each card and each corresponding page of the guidebook in depth, because it can really send you down some rabbit holes, especially if you're me and already have that interest in Celtic mythology, because the cards themselves just kind of adhere to overall archetypes. The deck, the guidebook, each card does correspond. Why do I sound like Christopher Walken when I'm trying to explain this one? Each card does correspond to a different deity in Celtic Irish myth and legend. There's my really terrible Christopher Walken impression there for you. So there's one for you, the Lady of the Ways. And then if you go look at the corresponding guidebook, for that page, it says that the goddess associated with that card is specifically Ellen, or Ellen of the Ways, or Nehelenia, which is definitely another goddess that I associate a lot with Freya in terms of like different aspects of her as a Vanir goddess and goddess of magic and realm travel. Ellen Nehelenia is definitely a very similar figure to that from what I have read and learned of her, and so I definitely want to learn more about her specifically as well. But it's definitely interesting that each card, if it's kind of embodying a specific person, will give a specific deity or figure from Irish or Welsh or British legend to correspond with the archetypal themes that it's touching on. So, for example, card number 38 is the Lady of the Moon and Stars, and that is Arianrod. If we look at the deck itself, you'll see that the back is bordered in different colors, and so it's kind of grouped according to different themes. Each color is kind of grouped into a different category, so I think that definitely makes working with this deck very customizable in terms of if you wanted to just pull out a specific category or handful of cards to incorporate into a reading or to work with, or if you're really looking for something specific to apply the deck to, I think you could really easily adapt it in that way. Because this is the only white card, which is card number 1, the Tree of Vision and Tradition. There's all these different groups. So then we have like yellow cards, which kind of represent the different realm travelers or magic workers within the community. Like we have the Walker Between Worlds is card number 3, and then card number 4, the Wild Man. Shout out Wild Man. We have like red-backed cards for the more specific, like spirit helpers, deities, whatever term you want to use for them. The Ferrymen, which for me as a Norse pagan, I would tie that into the Tale of Harborsvold and Odin disguised as the Ferryman, but you'll see a ferryman concept come up in a lot of mythos as far as acting as a transportation in between realms, like the ferryman that carries you across the river Styx, for example. And then, we had the Lady of the Waves as another guide, like the Man of the Woods, Druid, Woodward. The Seeress is another one. I think there's definitely a lot of like Frigg imagery in that card. So the artwork on the cards is very interesting and in-depth and mesmerizing as well. So we have like purple cards as well for the even higher beings. Here's 2, the Lady of the Sacred Earth, that beautiful Celtic horse, and then the Lady of the Moon and Stars, which I think you'll see this used as kind of embodiment of like the Wiccan goddess a lot. And you'll see this in terms of the lady, or so having the different color codes on the back really makes it easy to go in and pull out like specific categories depending on what type of work you're wanting to do with the deck. There's some with brown borders that correspond with different like Celtic power animals. So here's the boar for Frey and Freya. And I believe in more specific like Celtic myths, you'll see there's like the Caledonian boar. It's kind of like the Greek like Nemean lion, just one of those mythical creatures that everyone's trying to go like capture and kill. So, and you'll see a lot of people just going on hunts for mythical boars. Although if there's one thing I have learned from reading medieval fantasy literature is don't fuck with boars because they will fuck you up. The cow, you'll see a lot of sacred cows in Celtic and Norse myth, and where's that again? There in Norse myth, there's the sacred cow Dula. In Hindu culture, cows are still very sacred animals. And then in the Irish myths, you'll see a lot of tales about like cattle raids, different tribes of beings or even men just raiding each other for cattle or sacred cattle. It also kind of resembles the Triskelion, which is another image that I'm very drawn to. And then on the back here, you'll see the pattern on all of the cards as spirals and a Triskel as well, which I believe, if I recall correctly from the guide, these are taken directly from sites like Newgrange. So this is actual like representations of prehistoric artwork where you will find the spiral image used a lot. So in addition to just being representative of a lot of like Celtic, Greek, other mythos that I've always been really interested in and drawn toward. It just embodies a lot of sacred concepts that I also really am drawn toward and adhere to. So if you want me to make a video specifically touching on the Driscoll and whatever I can find on its origins and just what it means to me based on my research and just personal feelings on it, let me know. I'll definitely be more than happy to do that at some point in the future. Oh, the stag, there's another good one. I definitely associate him with Freyr a lot. Okay, so we have at least 3 here, very fitting. Driscoll 3, you'll see a lot of tripartite or 3-part systems in a lot of myths and cultures, especially the Celtic among them, which is cards 14, 15, and 16 for the firmament. Sorry, I'm getting like the glare off my lights here. Firmament, aka the realm above, the higher world. The circle of 9. So you'll see these standing stones, kind of representing the old ones, old gods, are tied to them as a channel in the material realm, and then the in-world, aka like the underworld, the inner realm, which I think also ties back to kind of the concepts that I was touching on in my video on shadow work and the journey to the underworld, because like shadow work, the journey within, parallels a lot of the myths about journeys to the underworld and back. You can easily, take apart into different pieces. Like say you wanted to try to connect with your spirit animal. Now this deck, I will say, is probably somewhat, limited in that aspect. I know there are decks out there that are like very nature and animal based that would probably have a lot more animals in them that you could use for such a thing. But say for example I wanted to just either explore concepts of different power animals, especially within Norse or Celtic myths, or just maybe try to meditate on a spirit animal or something like that, you could pull out all the ground cards, which are all the animal cards, and do a reading or a card pull specifically with those. Or you want to figure out maybe what you feel like some deity or some being is calling out to you and trying to get your attention, but you're not sure maybe who it is. Pull out a couple different cards from these different realm traveler or deity categories and say, okay, I'm feeling some type of energy. Who might it be? Who's trying to speak with me? Okay, it's the mother. So what mother type goddesses might that be? And so just giving you something to kind of meditate on further. So you'll see each page, each page has a picture of the card, and then kind of a description of the symbolism contained within the card, and then it tells you what category or set within the deck that it falls within, as indicated by the colors on the back, and then it gives you a keyword corresponding for that card. So with this one, and then it's also tied to a specific figure from the mythology that it will kind of touch on in the lore portion at the bottom. And so with this one, for example, so here's number 9, the Druid, and you will see there are many Celtic power animals surrounding the Druid's wooden staff or wand. And if we look at the guidebook, it says A wand of dark wood is topped by a horse head. On all sides, amid swirls of energy, fantastic animals, fish, and birds are drawn toward the staff. Swirls of fire spring up where it touches the earth. So it just symbolizes the magic and power of the Druid that they wield. And it is contained within this set called the Empowerers. And the key word is magic. The figure associated with the lore for this card is Gwydion. This says that Gwydion is considered the most famous of the Welsh wizards and consistently appears on the scene to bring change, not always for the best, in his wake. For all this, he is likable and possessed of wit and cunning that makes for exciting events. It specifically mentions the Mabinogion, which is the Welsh collection of myths and stories, and so you'll see that referred to a lot in these books, which I like. It's definitely something I have skimmed before, but that I need to go back and read more in depth now, that I would like to perhaps start exploring and working with some of these beings. And I see a lot of similarities between Celtic and Irish deities and Vanir gods, but those are some future videos. So it says that in the Mabinogion story of Math Fab Mathanwy, he is instrumental in the creation of Blodwydd, the woman made from flowers, who is intended as the bride of, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, the bride of Logos, who I think is similar to Welsh Blue of the Long Arm, which is a similar name to actually what Apollo's name means, but that also might be a future video. So it kind of gives you not only a figure to associate with these cards or these archetypes, but a summary of the actual myths and stories that they come from, so that then in my case, you can go back to like the internet or the book that I have. I have an ebook that I've also been skimming through and reading on very in-depth on like Celtic history and Celtic myths, which includes the Mabinogion. So if you're interested in Druidry or Celtic mythology or Celtic deities, definitely find some version of the Mabinogion. I'm sure there's a free copy up on sacredtext.com. And go back to these specific stories, read up more in depth, read the stories themselves that they're talking about here. And then at the end, it also includes a section called Journey, where it just gives you a brief kind of walkthrough or meditation or reflection to use as you kind of go on, as I said, this like guided journey, guided meditation through these different worlds and figures via the deck. So you can, in my case, that's why it's partly why it's been taking me so long to go through it. I'm going through kind of each card and with each page of the book in order, so that I get like the full experience, the full journey, guided journey through the Otherworlds. And so yeah, really taking my time to study the lore that it gives behind each card and research that further if there's different concepts that appeal to me or spark something. Very helpful, very in-depth, a really good starter/guidebook to working with Celtic shamanism, Celtic Druid magic, those types of things. So right up my alley. I would like 10/10 recommend if that's something that you're interested in too. I was trying to like just pull out like maybe one card per day and then like really focus in on that card in depth that day. And then as I said, also just kind of going through the guidebook itself in order to familiarize myself with each card. It does give you some sample spreads that you can use, which is always nice. I always like having different spreads to use. And then interestingly enough, it also just has another short little section in the back on just using different Celtic magic concepts in general, both with and without the deck. So using it for healing, or spirit work, working in groups, constructing a ritual. It even gives some sample power songs and chants, which I will have to check out now that I am kind of a couple months into this journey at this point and kind of feeling ready to explore more of the actual like ritual side of things. Any samples that you can use to go off of are always very helpful to me, because it's like I'm not gonna lie, I am a very creative person and I like to write. Poetry I think is not my strong suit and not my first passion, and so I can write my own chants and rituals if I really wanted to sit down and devote the time to it, and definitely I think that could be a very good thing to do if you don't have a lot else to offer to deity, is you can, give your time and whatever you do have and just forming your own words to say, but it's always helpful to just have some different, what's the word I'm looking for? Different options, different things to go off of and adapt into your own rituals. I do like the box that it came in terms of like keeping everything together at home, but I'm working on making some like travel pouches for some of my other like decks like this that just come in really big boxes, because this is not convenient for travel. And so I think that's also partly why I really want to take my time in terms of spending a lot of time with the guidebook and familiarizing myself with the deck that way, and the different concepts that the cards represent, because that way I won't really need to take the whole like book with me. I can just take the cards if I want to take those traveling or what have you. Yeah, overall I really like this. Just came across it by chance, but I'm so happy to have it in my collection. I definitely see myself working with this a lot. I love the artwork and the color scheme on the cards and just the hand-drawn, very like folk art style, and just the different Celtic symbols and images that it incorporates. You want some fingernails on a card ASMR. I'm such a weirdo. It's all an illusion. Don't let any of this fool you. I have nothing together at any point in time. I'm really excited to keep working with and studying this deck, because I think it can really help me refresh my knowledge of just Celtic mythology and Celtic magical concepts overall, because it is something that I have read a lot about in the past, just because that was something I was interested in, but now it's just kind of, as a pagan witch, whatever it is I'm going for here, it just kind of takes all of those concepts to a whole new level. If you are interested in Celtic myth, in Celtic shamanism, in learning about the other worlds, in realm travel, and especially Druidry, this is for you. So I hope you liked this short little walkthrough of the Celtic Shamans pack, and yeah, expect to see more of it in some of my tarot reading videos. And until next time, stay classy, pagan.